Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your pal on wheels, Corey Hot Wheels, coming at you with another video. In this video, we're going to do something I haven't done before on this channel, and something new I would like to start doing, and that is doing album reviews. You know, music has been a big part of my life. You know, I was a band kid in high school. I was a drummer. You know, I've listened to music ever since I knew what it was. And I've always been a fan of different kinds of music. So this is something I want to start doing. How I'm going to do this is I'm going to rank each song on the album and then explain a little why I ranked it that way and what I liked about the song. And yeah, so that's going to be it. So the first album we're going to be doing is the 1978 Ace Frehley solo album. So back in 1978, all four members of the original Kiss lineup decided that they were going to do solo albums that reflected their personalities. So, you know, with Ace Frehley being the original spaceman and with his recent passing, you know, and me being a huge fan of Kiss, I wanted to do this. So, I listened to this album. It's according to Wikipedia, it's a 36-minute and 44-second album. It has 9 songs on it. I listened to it on my drive to Parkersburg, West Virginia today, to and from. And so I'm going to be ranking each song. So I'll start with my least favorite and then go up to my favorite. So the first song that I'm going to talk about is Ozone. So this song, you know, I don't really know what the lyrics were really about, but it had a lot of cool guitar solos in it, drumming. You know, Anton Fig, the main drummer on this album, he has become one of my favorite drummers. He did a lot of drumming on the Psycho Circus Kiss album, you know, when the original lineup got back together in 1996 and did that Psycho Circus album. So, and he was a drummer in Ace Frehley's Comet Band as well. So, you know, like I said, a lot of what I like about it is, you know, just the guitar solos and, you know, the drumming on the song. I mean, Ace and Anton had great chemistry on this album. Like, it just fits so well, and, you know, I really, really enjoyed, you know, this whole album. And Ozone, you know, I mean, the guitar solo in it was great, like I said, and that is number 9. Coming in at number 8, is What's on Your Mind. I think a lot of, like, the lyrics really stuck out to me is, you know, him talking to someone, you know, who's kind of in a bad mood and, you know, just asking them, like, what's on their mind, like, what's going on. You know, and I think we all feel that sometimes, you know, when we all struggle with our mental health and we have thoughts on our mind and, you know, sometimes, you know, you don't really know if you want to talk about it or not, and, you know, you're kind of in a moody, so, you know, you have close friends and family that's just like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, what's on your mind? So, you know, that song really stuck out to me, because I've been struggling these past couple weeks with my mental health, so, you know, that's really stuck out to me. And, you know, the lyrics really impacted me on that song. Coming in at number 7 is Snowblind. So, this song, you know, from what I listened to, is, just about being so blind you can't see, and, like, he didn't even want to sing. Again, the guitar solos and the drumming is absolutely fantastic. The lyrics, I'd have to listen to it some more to really understand the lyrics, but, I liked the song. The lyrics, didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but, I've only listened to the song twice now, so, I'm definitely going to have to listen to it some more to, like, really understand what the lyrics mean. But, that's my number 7 song on the album. Coming in at number 6 is Wiped Out. A lot of great drumming, a lot of great guitars, and sometimes, I didn't really understand a lot of the lyrics on this one, but, it essentially sounded to me like, when we just get wiped out sometimes, you know what I mean? When we're just wiped out with life, wiped out after a long day, so, but what really stuck out to me again was, the guitars and, the drums. So, again, Ace Frehley and Ant and Fig's chemistry on this whole album was just great. So, coming in at number 4, Speeding Back to My Baby. This song, was about him trying to get back to his baby. It was the second track on the album. And, I really liked his vocals on the track. Of course, the guitar, the drums, that's what I liked about a lot of these songs. So, you're going to hear me say that quite a bit, that I liked the guitars and the drums on a lot of these songs. So, yeah, Speeding Back to My Baby is number 4. And coming in at number 3, we have Rip It Out. This is the intro track to the album, and again, what stood out to me right away was the guitaring, the drums. I didn't really, pay attention to the lyrics, but, again, this one was just the solid drumming by Ant and Fig really stuck out to me. The drum part on this record is just so insane. Ant and Fig's drumming is just absolutely unreal. I try to play some of his songs on my set, and I'm not that experienced yet to really keep up with him. But, like I said, he's become a favorite drummer of mine. So, yeah, and then at number 2, this is a song that, I was introduced to on the Grand Theft Auto 4 Liberty Rock radio station. It is originally done by Hello. It is called New York Groove, and I've been listening to it a lot lately. I mainly listen to the Hello version, more, but, ever since Ace's passing, I have been, giving this version a lot of love lately. So, yeah, that's, my number 2, and then coming in at number 1, and I have a lot to say about this song. This is the instrumental. It is the final track on the record. It is called Fractured Mirror, and just everything about this. The church bells at the beginning, the drumming, the guitars, just the way that guitar sounds, that melody is just so good. And this drummer was Carl Tallarico. He did the drums on this particular record, and I mean, I listened to it just a few minutes ago, and it's definitely going to be one that tops my playlist for sure. So, yeah, Fractured Mirror, that amazing instrumental, comes in at number 1. So, that was the, 1978 Ace Frehley solo album. Only 9 tracks on the whole album. This is something I want to start doing, just kind of reviewing albums and, because I love music and, it's just something that has always been a big part of my life. And, I hope you guys enjoy it because, I think music, it sticks out to everyone in some way. Everyone I feel listens to music of some kind. We might all have different tastes, but I think music is the one thing that brings us together as humans. So, hopefully I can get a lot of people, that like music to listen to my reviews. I'm still going to be doing a lot of, gaming. Try to do some more wrestling content. Sometimes I just, I don't always watch wrestling regularly to, regularly talk about it. Gaming, I'm trying to, build, my streaming setup. I want to get a microphone and a capture card so I could, capture footage and, try to, edit it. I'm wanting to get a MacBook, because I think I talked about in my last video that I'm getting into DJing. And it's something that has, really taken off for me. Done really well. I've been, like I said, when I talked about the What's on Your Mind track on this album, I've been struggling a lot with my mental health over the past couple weeks. Just kind of really anxious, kind of depressed. Sometimes, for someone that has a disability, it's really, really hard because, you want to do something that you feel matters in life, and, it's kind of hard, when you need the assistance, and, you want to get a job that, puts some extra money in your pocket, but you got to watch what you're doing because you need the assistance, and so that's, really, really hard for me to go through sometimes. I appreciate everything that I get, all my staff help, everything, but, it's hard, and I'm just trying to, find something that, I'm passionate about, that I like doing, and, that means something to somebody. So, that's why I'm doing DJing, because, sometimes everybody needs a DJ at their party to rally up the crowd, play some music, I don't charge very much for my gigs, if anything, depending on what it is that I'm doing. I'm doing it as just kind of a way to, meet people and help people, because what a lot of people don't understand about someone in a wheelchair is it's very hard for us to, go out in the community and get jobs, because it's we have to worry about accessibility, because everybody's chairs are different sizes, so, we got to worry about our chairs fitting into places. If we need assistance in the restroom, we got to think about that, because restrooms aren't always accessible. And so, doing this, like, DJing, and even I'm wanting to get back into YouTube, where I want to try to make videos, once or twice a week, like, playing different games. Like, I'm not the type that plays, like, different series. Like, I'm not going to, like, start a game at the beginning and do a whole series and finish it. Unless it takes off really well and, people really like it. I want to try to play, like, a different game every day. I like to play a different variety of stuff, so, that sort of thing. I don't do a lot of unboxings anymore. I got rid of a lot. I pretty much got rid of, there's no pretty much, I did get rid of all my Funkos, got rid of all my wrestling figures, got rid of all my Beanie Babies. And the reason why I did that is because, I live in a one-bedroom apartment, so space is, like, really limited. So, between, my games, those are what keep me entertained. I have a lot of different game systems. I've talked about that on the channel before. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm focusing on. And then, I'm focusing on stuff that adds value to my life. And I think I talked about this in my last video. I think, if you collect trinkets and you collect knickknacks, like, I'm not dogging you. I think it's a cool hobby. But, with me, and being limited on funds is, I want to get stuff that adds value to my life. So, like getting this DJ stuff, so I can do gigs and perform well for people, and, getting stuff to make, my YouTube channel better so I can make good quality videos for you guys. I'm playing different video games because that's what I do for entertainment. So that's what I really want to focus on. And guys, like, when I talk about my personal life, I'm not trying to get sympathy. I don't want sympathy. I've never wanted sympathy. I just want to use my platform to raise awareness for people. Because unless you have a disability or you really take care of someone that has a disability, a lot of people don't understand what it is that we have to go through, just to get through everyday life, and I've always been one that tries to go through life every day with a smile on my face, but I'm a human being. Like, sometimes, there's days it gets to me, just like everybody else. So, yeah, I just really, like I said, like to use my platform, like I said, not to get sympathy, but to raise awareness, about, like, my disability, which is cerebral palsy, and, and maybe somebody could be like, hey, like, I understand this. I really relate, because I follow a lot of people with disabilities on social media, and they post a lot of stuff that's really relatable. So, if I can use my platform to inspire someone, or even, just to help educate people, then, that's what I want to do. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I'll do, if you guys like them, I'll do more of these album reviews. Do a few different things. I'm trying to work on, making my setup better, like, so I'm not just sitting here in a chair looking at my phone. I want to have, like, a more professional setup, so I am trying really hard to get that going, and, and I really appreciate if you guys would subscribe and come along for the ride. So with that said, this will be it for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.